Good morning. Good morning. I see people are starting to come in. It's 8 o'clock. It's the top of the hour. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see people coming on. Hello. If you are just joining us, please feel free to tell us where you're zooming in from and how you're feeling today. I see Jason is in San Francisco and could definitely use some of our learnings of what we're going to be going over today. Good morning from Vietnam. It is amazing to see international people on the Zooms. It's wonderful how our community is growing and spreading. I want to welcome everybody to today's session. This is Natural Stress Relief with Energy Tapping with Suzanne Gundersen. My name is Jennifer Norman. I'm the founder of the Human Beauty Movement. We're also known as the HBM. The HBM is all about radical self-love, radical self-acceptance, radical self-expression. We know that beauty is an inside job, and so is wellness, which is why we're delighted to bring you workshops that support your mind, body, and soul well-being. Now, I'm so honored to introduce you to our host, Suzanne Gundersen. Suzanne is a certified somatic wellness educator. Her expertise is in trauma release solutions that help rewire your body and rewrite your stories so you can experience breakthroughs, decrease those symptoms, increase your peace, your clarity, and your perspective on choice. So welcome, Suzanne. I'm going to give you the floor.
Good morning to everyone who is just waking up, and good afternoon to those of you who are ending your afternoon today. Thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to be sharing my screen for a portion of this. So a little bit about me. I've been working in natural stress management for about 15 years. As Jennifer mentioned, I love to educate and share what it is that I have found that's helped me become my own self-healer and my own stress and trauma throughout my life. Today's topic is regarding something I call neuro-energy tapping. It's kind of my own flavor of it. And so as we kind of unpack it, we'll get into a little bit more of it. But ultimately, I'm here to help you to transform tension, stress, and trauma into more peace and well-being inside and out. So let's get right to it. What is neuro-energy tapping? Well, simply, it's a self-use acupressure technique that helps to calm the mind and relax the body so that you can experience more peace, clarity, and choice. So really, what is it? Literally what we're doing is we're taking our fingertips and we're tapping on specific energy points. And when you do that, it sends a calming message to the brain. And so tapping literally shifts how you feel and how you experience your stress. And how that does that is that when you're tapping on these energy points, it's sending that message to the brain, and there's different layers of the brain. The first layer of the brain is the body. It's that survival, automatic, I'm responding to threat, stress, instinct. And so when we're tapping, we're literally calming down that survival part of the brain that says, hey, it's okay. We can relax now, relax the body. Then we're going to the next layer of the emotional limbic system. It's sending a message to that. There's a gland in there called the amygdala. It's kind of like the fire alarm of our emotions. It says, hey, turn that fire alarm off. It's really okay now. And then our thinking mind that often gets completely shut off when we're stressed, it starts to kind of open up those pathways to be able to start to think clearly again. So tapping literally shifts how you feel and experience your body, your emotions, and your thoughts. So it directly affects your nervous system, because your nervous system is just the manager of all your body systems, which is connected to that survival brain. Like I mentioned, it's going to go right to that amygdala, that fire alarm, and neutralize that. And then also any of that mental fog or brain confusion that you might have when you're stressed out, it starts to bring that thinking mind online. When you're stressed and you're just like have to make a decision about something and you go, oh, okay, I'm just going to decide. And then you go, oh, it probably wasn't a good decision. I'll probably have to redo that later. The reason for that is because the body's so overwhelmed, the emotions aren't able to be regulated, and the mind just says, I'm going to shut down because there's too much activity going on here. But yet when we need to force a decision, that's when we can get into trouble. And we actually have to often redo those things because the thinking mind just isn't clear for us. So tapping really helps to clear that mental fog and mental confusion and get us to the best solution for us. So tapping really helps us to reprogram our stress into more peace and wisdom. And there's a beautiful word out there you may have heard. It's called neuroplasticity, which really just means that our brain and our body have the ability to adapt and stretch and change, which is an amazing thing because we no longer have a life sentence to our stress. We no longer have a life sentence to our relationship trauma, generational trauma, developmental trauma. It really means that the brain has the ability to change. And what great news. I'm going to make a little footnote here that neuro-energy tapping is kind of my own unique style. I'm a nervous system geek. I've been studying the nervous system for over 10 years. I studied with Gary Craig emotional freedom technique. You may know his original tapping approach, and there's many, many others that have evolved tapping. So this is kind of my flavor of it, and just hang with me here, and I'll explain exactly what I mean. So a little bit about the history of tapping. It's been around for about 50 years. It's rooted in Chinese medicine. It uses traditional acupuncture points, except we use fingers instead of needles to engage the energy body. You know, back in the 70s, the 1970s, Roger Callahan first discovered tapping, and it really has taken off since there. One of his students was Gary Craig, and Gary created emotional freedom technique. And from there, there's been lots of evolution to tapping. And I think the most recent, that may be the most popular that people know about, is the tapping solution with the Ortner brother-sister team that are out there who are doing a great job kind of sharing about the beautiful benefits of tapping. And there's many other approaches. You know, there's many approaches to tapping, but they all use the same energy system. And tapping will just continue to evolve as we evolve, just like it has over the last 50 years. So let's talk a little bit about stress. What is stress? It's the 6 letter word that we throw around. It really is the body's reaction to perception. And I'm going to go a little deeper and share with you a word called neuroception. And neuroception is a word that was coined by Dr. Stephen Porges, and it really just means that our body can detect without awareness what's going on inside of us, outside of us, relationally between us. Sometimes it can be conscious, but most of the time it's very unconscious. So what happens is our body has all these little nerves tingling all the time, constantly sensing what's going on and sending messages between the body and the brain. If we just use the word perception, it kind of infers that all of our experience is mental and conscious, and it's just not. It's just much more deeper than that. It's much more intuitive in our body. So if I yelled out loud right now, if I screamed as loud as I possibly could, immediately your body would squeeze in, right? Your heart might start to race. Certainly cortisol would be released, which is that stress hormone, right? Your physiology, your body would change in a split second if you heard me screaming. After your body started to react, then your emotions would get engaged, right? And your emotions can also change some of the body systems. And then your thinking mind, likely offline. So that's kind of neuroception in action a little bit. Next slide. Okay, so here's a copy of our human stress response. All right, so when we're down here on the bottom of this green zone, I call it, where we're socially engaged, where we're feeling happy and compassionate and curious about life and feeling safe and enjoying life, we have this kind of window of tolerance, meaning everybody has a unique capacity for stress. When we have something come into our neuroception, right, that starts to send threatening messages to that brainstem, we leave that green zone and we go into that fight or flight zone. Now, if we've got tools or skills to, figure out what's going on here in fight or flight, we can come back into the green zone. And that's that little black wobbly line that you see between the green zone and the fight flight. So if we have tools and skills, we can come back to the green zone, which is where our body wants to be. It wants to be recovered. It wants to be relaxed. It wants to be, feeling safe and connected again. But if something comes into our neuroception and we leave that green zone and we go into fight or flight and we don't have the tools and skills, then we can get stuck. We can get stuck. And this is where people experience a lot of worry, frustration, anxiety, anger issues. And then worse is that when our body gets completely overwhelmed, that we can't resolve in fight or flight, well, then we end up in freeze. And that's where trauma lives, is where we're just shut down, we disconnect, we disassociate. And so tapping really helps us to kind of process and resolve what we may be experiencing as a flight or flight reaction in the body, which is that mobilize, I'm going to try and figure this out. And then also starts to bring some life to us if we've gotten to the state of freeze, where we just have stopped and shut down. And the whole goal is to help the body and the emotions and the mind recover back to what I call the green zone, which is the bottom, social engagement. So, I mean, do you have stress? I mean, who doesn't, right? You know, we wake up to global awareness. Our lives are completely overstimulated. We overstimulate them even more. Our stress response in our body is living on all the time. And then we end up like coping. And then we got some, you know, behaviors that maybe we don't like, or maybe we are dealing with some chronic stress health issues, or maybe we've got some trauma that's set into our body. So there's a couple different kinds of stress, right? You've got that acute stage of stress. It's that kind of quick, immediate, I'm right there. It's kind of like somebody cuts you off and you kind of slam on your horn. You're like, hey, they're kind of these quick, shocking events, but it also could be the initial stages of a bigger stress as well. It's that immediate stage of stress. Sometimes it can be short-lived, but sometimes it could move into deeper stages of stress. Chronic stress is kind of like that ongoing, prolonged, oh, I've got to go back to that job today. Oh, I'm still in this relationship I don't know how to get out of. I still have this problem that I'm not resolving. That's chronic stress. And then trauma is really when you've experienced something that has kind of forever changed you. So there's different types of stress, even though we kind of use the word stress and we know what we think what that means, there's different layers of it. So here's kind of the basics and the foundations of tapping. We'll get back to tapping again, right? So there's 3 areas. It's rooted in Chinese medicine. Our bodies are energy, and we've got rivers of energy that flow from our head to our feet called meridians. And when we're tapping, we're actually literally using our fingertips to engage this energy system. The second foundation of tapping is in modern psychology. It's how we think and we learn and we communicate. The third is also rooted in neuroscience, which is our neurology. It's how our body has memorized pathways to be able to run and be efficient. And it's all managed through a very complex network of nerves that message through something called the vagus nerve, and that communicates to your brainstem. So the foundations of tapping all are aligned with each of these. We have an energy body. We think, learn, and communicate using our mind. And then our neurology, which is to, have this nervous system that has a whole communication pathway that's going on. So we have to understand that these things are all layers that we're addressing when we're tapping. So to simplify all that, I came up with something I call the 3 M's of tapping: momentum, meaning, and memory. So when you're tapping, what you're doing is you are helping to regulate the momentum of your energy body to a pace that personally works for you, right? Whether you are a speeding car in fight flight, or you're just kind of like, the dead van on the side of the road, needing some life, needing a jump start, tapping will help to be able to engage that energy body and regulate that energy momentum to a pace that personally works for you. Meaning is, this is the psychology piece, right? If I said the word dog right now, you have dog on your mind. How come we're not thinking the same dog? And that's because we're only communicating to ourselves based on our own internal references. So how come your dog is not a white Labradoodle? I said dog. Don't you understand what I'm saying? No, because your dog is your dog. And even though in common language, we might agree on what the word dog means, just like we agreed what the word stress means, it's unique to us because we give it the meaning. So why tapping is also rooted in modern psychology is because we give the meaning to the things that we experience, and we record those meanings, and some of those memories live in the hippocampus of the limbic system of our brain, which really just means that, if you have a great memory or a not so great memory, you might be able to see it as a picture in your mind, or maybe even a movie, or maybe even words or voices or sounds or noises, or maybe you feel it as a sensation in the body. And so when you're tapping, what you're actually doing is you're helping to detach yourself from that specific meaning. We'll go back to the dog reference and I'll say, well, you've got your dog on your mind. And you're like, maybe you don't like dogs. Maybe dogs have bit you before. Maybe one's chasing you, or maybe one's just sitting there next to you in your mind and just sleeping. Who knows? Your dog is your dog. But when we're tapping on your dog, you can help yourself detach from that specific meaning that might be not sitting well within you, to be able to loosen the grip that you have on it, to be able to change some of the elements of the meaning, to be able to live with more, have more peace and wisdom about what you might be experiencing. And the last M of tapping is memory. And this goes to the nervous system and the neurology in our body. And that is that, you ever go to the grocery store and you get in your car? Do you plug in the GPS and say, I need to go to the grocery store? No, you just get in your car and go. How do you know how to get there? Because your brain and your body have already gone there, and it says, hey, I know how to do this. You can listen to this radio, you can call your friends, you can chew gum, you can do a sandwich. We'll get you there. Don't worry about it. Like, we've already memorized this. We have a pathway of how we do this thing, how we get to the store. You don't need to, give us instructions. So our cells and our nervous system have patterns and pathways that it's established to do things for efficiency. And some of those things include being anxious, being angry, being frustrated, being depressed, being worried, being stuck. So when we're tapping, what we're doing is we're not going to, yes, we're going and talking, we're tapping on memories, but the third M of tapping being memory is that our pathways are memorized pathways inside of our nervous system. And when we start to tap, what we're doing is we're relaxing some of those survival pathways that have us going down routes that we don't want anymore. And then also opening up new pathways. So my unique position on tapping is the 3 M's of tapping. We are regulating the momentum of the energy body. We're helping us detach from that specific meaning that might have us stressed or struggling or stuck. And we're also being able to relax some of those survival pathways and open up new pathways that lead us to new possibility. So before we get started, I'm a big energy medicine person, and also somatic person. So I want to do a couple of simple things we can do just sitting down. That's going to kind of get our body ready for the tapping experience. And then we're going to get into a little bit more of it. So the first thing we're going to do is just sitting in your chair, just going to do some easy hip circles. Just do some easy hip circles and go around the other way. Maybe you're just kind of sitting off to one hip or the other. Just kind of rotate your hips a little bit side to side. Maybe even notice where you've got some tension or tightness there. Maybe you have to kind of pick yourself up a little bit, scooch around. Yeah, and you might even notice yourself sighing or feeling a little bit more relaxed when you do that. There's a word called grounding. We toss that around too. And really what that means, it means to sense connection through weight. The best way to do that with the body is through the hips and the feet. So when we just move around, we just move those hips, and you start to notice a little bit sighing or swallowing or yawning, great signs that the body is starting to feel more connected. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of energy exercises so you can stop your hip circles and just settle in. We're going to do something called the double karate chop. So you're going to take the side of your hand against the side of your hand and make kind of an X with your hands, right? So just double karate chop. And I want you to look around your room and notice a color. Notice a texture, notice the shape of something, and shake your hands out, wiggle your shoulders, and exhale. Then we're going to do something called the 4 thumps. You're going to take your fingertips and get a nice bounce on your cheekbones. Remember to breathe. Get a nice bounce on your collarbones. Make a fist with one hand. You're going to pound your thymus and move your chest. Fist with 2 hands and under your arms. And then just shake and wiggle all that out. Nice. Then if these were my toes, I want you to just kind of squeeze your toes onto the floor, right? If my fingertips were my toes, just squeeze your toes onto the floor and then wiggle your toes free. Now I want you to squeeze all your muscles in your legs. Squeeze all the muscles in your legs. Tighten your calves, tighten your quads, tighten your glutes. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then just shake and wiggle that free. Now I want you to shrug your shoulders up to your ears, straighten your arms down by your side, make fists with your hands, Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then shake and wiggle that free. Then put it all together. Squeeze your toes onto the floor. Tighten all your leg muscles. Shrug your shoulders. Straighten your arms. Make fists with your hands. Squeeze, 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 squeeze everything. And then just shake and wiggle it out. See, stress squeezes the body in. Remember, we looked at the layers of the brain? Stress squeezes the body in. When we start to bring some rhythm and flow back to the body and make it feel like it's connected and safe again, maybe you're feeling a little bit of sensation in your body like before, maybe some tingling, maybe there's some temperature. Just notice what you might be feeling. We want to just wake up the body a little bit. Okay, let's get into the details of the tapping. So I mentioned our body is energy because we are energy. We've got these rivers of energy that flow from our head to our feet called meridians. The whole point of tapping is to circulate energy in the body. If you went to an acupuncturist, they put needles in these meridian points, these energy points, for the purpose of circulating your energy body. When we're stressed, our energy gets stuck and we want that energy to be flowing. Think of like a pipe, like a figure eight, like there's the pipe and there's a clog in the pipe, right? Tapping isn't going to just go right to that clog. It's going to tap on all the points to get the flow moving. So that way it gets to that point of the clog and says, hey, keep it going. Don't stay stuck there. Keep it going. Keep the flow going. So there's hundreds of points all over the body. I'm going to show you the ones that I like to use, but if you know more, great, use more. They're all interconnected, so you just can't mess this up, right? The main points that I like to use are the fight or flight points, and I'll explain to you why. So we're going to just practice together. You're going to take 2 fingers, either hand, it does not matter. You're going to start tapping between your eyebrows. This is the bladder meridian, and it represents emotional trauma when it's blocked. Same fingers, side of the eye. You can do both sides. Don't get fancy on me here. One side's just fine for today. Temple, side of the eye. I want you to hear a patting sound. Do you hear that patting sound? And I want you to tap about 5 to 10 times per point. This is the gallbladder, represents anger. And then tap under your eye, on your cheekbone. This is the stomach meridian, and it represents anxiety. You take all 4 fingers and get a nice bounce between both of your collarbones, right here. This is your kidney meridian, and it represents fear. And you take one hand and squeeze the opposite wrist a few times. And the reason why we do that is because we have meridians that run along the top of our arm and under our arm out to our fingertips. So you may have seen people tapping on the side of their hand. You may have seen people slapping on either sides of the wrist. I just like to squeeze the whole wrist and you get everything, everything. The thumb is your lungs. It represents grief. Your index finger is your large intestine. It represents stubbornness. Your middle finger is the pericardium, which is the sac around the heart, represents jealousy. You skip the ring finger, you go to the pinky. On the side of the pinky is the heart meridian. It represents shock. The side of the hand is the small intestine. It represents fear of a new experience. So again, just to practice, you want to tap between your eyes about 5 to 10 times per point. You want to hear that patting sound. You want to engage that meridian. And then on the side of the eye, again, remember, both sides you can do, or just one side. You can change sides. It's not a big deal. It's all interconnected. The next one is under your eye, on top of your cheekbone, and then on your collarbones. And then you're going to grab your wrist. So that technically, those are the points that we're going to be using. And again, if you know more, you're like, hey, Suzanne, you forgot the one here and here and here and here. Look, there's hundreds of points. If you know more, use more. Great. These are the ones I like to use. So before we get into actually practicing tapping, what's really important is for us to kind of find a safe place for us to go to, mind and body, because tapping can kind of open up a little bit of Pandora's box sometimes. And we want to be able to make sure you go someplace safe and someplace that you can enjoy. So I put some pictures on here to maybe trigger some nice relaxing scenes for you. Or if you have a favorite memory that you know about, that you remember, you're like, oh, that was such a great day, or a great vacation, or maybe it was just a great shower that you took and you're like, oh, that hot shower that just, oh, was so nice. Or maybe it's just sleeping on your soft pillow. It doesn't have to be a big deal. But find something right now in your inventory of life that feels good to you? That was a nice memory, a nice experience. And I'm going to ask you, how do you know that's a nice experience? Do you see it as a movie? Do you hear yourself saying, oh, that was such a nice day? Do you feel it in your body, like as a sensation? Do you feel it as a feeling? How do you know this is a great memory? And I want you to focus on the best part of it. Like make it a 10, make it a 10. And if you're like, I can't think of anything, Suzanne, this is so hard, then just look at one of these pictures and then maybe sink into it and just feel it. So find a good feeling, find a good memory, make it as strong as you possibly can inside of you, and give it a name. Give it a name like, oh, the best thing I ever did on a Tuesday or whatever. Just give it a short little like movie title name if you could. And if you can't think of a name, just call it ease and flow. Just call it ease and flow. And then while you're there in this wonderful state, if you've got something higher than a 6, meaning on a scale of 0 to 10, if 0 means, it's okay. 10 is like, oh, this was the best. Try and make it something higher than a 6, at least. As long as it's higher than a 6 and it feels really good, I want you just to take your wrist and squeeze around a few times and just say your word, whatever your title was for it. Maybe it's ease and flow. Maybe it's peace, whatever you want to say. And just start to anchor that in to that part of your body. And keep note of whatever this is, because we're going to use it going forward. And by the way, I highly recommend you create some kind of a happy journal. Now, I am not a writer. I can't even read my own chicken scratch most of the time. So I have like a jar. And so I write little messages to myself of good things that happen to me and I throw them in the jar. And then when I'm having a really crappy day, I go and read them. So, happy moments are so fleeting in our lives because we move so fast and energy moves so fast that, when we're really in the boo-hoos of life, it's great to have something to kind of trigger us to remember that, hey, we did have some good times. So just like you found that happy memory, what we're just talking about, write it down, and try and keep a habit of that. Okay, here it is. My 4 easy steps to tapping. We're actually gonna do some real tapping here. So I want you to think of maybe something that bothers you. How do you know it bothers you? Do you feel it rushing in your body, that energy momentum, or is it completely flatline? Do you hear it as a voice? Do you see it as a picture? Do you see it as a movie? Do you feel sensations? Do you feel feelings? How do you know this thing bothers you? The more you can aim at exactly what it is, the closer you'll get to the root of what's holding that momentum, meaning, and memory together. So find something that bothers you and then give it an intensity number on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 is doesn't bother me. 10 is, oh my gosh, really bothers me. And then go to the part that stands out the most. The part you're like, oh gosh, that was the part that just got me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't like that part at all. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So taking your own responsibility, right, for tapping here. I want you to tap between your eyes. Repeat out loud after me and say, this thing that bothers me, it really, really bothers me. I know that it bothers me. And then tap on the side of the eye. Every way that it bothers me. Everyone that's involved. What they said. What they did. What they didn't say. What they didn't do. And then tap under the eye. It really, really bothers me. How I know it bothers me. Why it bothers me. It just bothers me. And then tap on your collarbone. Helping my body calm down now. Relaxing everything inside. Willing to let this go from every cell of my body because I deserve peace. And then take your hand and squeeze the opposite wrist a few times. Take a nice breath, blow it out, say the word clear. Go to that happy feeling that we were just talking about, the one that you found, your happy, wonderful memory. Go enjoy it. If you still can't think of anything, go float Go float. Go be in a beautiful water, floating, watching a feather fall. Just be in your happy place. Be in that wonderful memory. If that's higher than a 6, higher than an 8 in intensity and feeling really, really good right now, then tap between your eyes and repeat out loud after me and say, this is who I truly am, naturally and easily. And then tap on the side of the eye. This wonderful feeling is all mine, lives inside of me. And then tap under the eye. I can have it anytime I want. And it's amazing. And it's all mine. And then tap on your collarbone. And I created it. Just like I create all things. And squeeze your wrist a few times. Take a nice breath. Blow it out. Say the word peace. Great. Now go back to the thing that was bothering you. And what's going on now? Is it the same intensity number? Are the things changing for how the momentum is inside of your body? Are things changing in the meaning of it? Are something standing out specific about it? You feeling differently about possibility? Or are you still like, oh no? So if you have anything higher than a 3, and you're like, oh, so there's still some left, Suzanne. This is not gone. This was a big deal. Yeah. If you've got higher than a 3, let's do some more. Tap between your eyes. Repeat out loud after me. It's still there. I don't know if it's safe to let it go. I don't know what will happen when I let it go. Can I let this go? It really bothers me still. I'm still connected to it. What it looks like, sounds like, feels like. Don't make me let it go. And tap on the side of the eye. I know it so well. I practice it in my mind. And tap under the eye. And I'm willing in this moment to let a little bit more of it go. It's safe to let it go in this moment because I deserve peace. Then on your collarbones, willing to let it go. Clearing anything in the way of letting it go. Resistance, blocks, barriers, just letting it go in this moment. And then grab your wrist, squeeze around a few times, take a nice breath, blow it out. Say the word clear. Go back to your happy memory. Go be there. Go float. Go watch the feather fall. Go be in your happy place. And just relax. Let your body breathe. Notice what your body might be feeling when you're in this happy place. And while you're there, just grab your wrist, squeeze it around a few times, and just say your happy word, or just say peace, 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 peace. Then go back to the thing that was bothering you and notice what's left. Now you might be noticing a little tingly sensation. You might be yawning. You might have taken a spontaneous breath. You might have noticed yourself swallowing or sighing or just feeling more relaxed. And all of these are great signals that your body is shifting from states of threat and moving into states of safety. So what we just did in my 4 easy steps of tapping is we noticed what we had as stress, right? How did you know? How did you know? And you gave it an intensity number. You focused on the worst part of it and you tapped. And then you went to like a good feeling, right? You went to a good feeling and you notice what's a little bit left, or maybe a little bit more stress left. So you tap on that again. And then you go to your best feeling thought, and you would just keep revolving back and forth between your stress and how you know it and kind of a best feeling thought. You're kind of alternating those pathways in the body, right? And that will collapse the stress eventually. You might just need a couple more rounds. So this is kind of the process that you follow to do this. And then once you're kind of at a, like, oh my gosh, it's gone. I don't even feel that way anymore. Oh my gosh, the dog that was biting me is now taking a nap in the corner. Wow, this is amazing. Once you're there, once you're at a 0 or anything less than a 2 intensity number, And if some of you are there and you're just like, I'm feeling great, this was so wonderful, then you can just tap between your eyes and say, I'm safe and I deserve peace. And tap on the side of the eye, I'm safe and I deserve peace. And under the eye, I'm safe and I deserve this peace. And on your collarbone, I'm safe and I deserve this peace. And then just grab your wrist. But only do that if you are at less than a 2. A 0 would be ideal. And you want to just keep working stress to best, best being the happy memory, stress meaning whatever's left. And you want to just keep alternating back and forth until you feel a shift through some of those tingly sensations, spontaneous breath, yawning, swallowing, sighing. All those are great states, right? So really what we're doing is, this is what I call my 3RP method: resolve, release, reframe, and project. So this is where I coined it the neuro-energy tapping. So it's got the 3 M's of tapping, right? Momentum, meaning, and memory. Those are the things that we're trying to shift. What we're really trying to do first in that first round of tapping is we're trying to resolve. What are we trying to resolve? How we know our stress, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like, what the momentum of is it, what all the pathways are in our body that support how we know that stress, right? I say the word dog, you have a dog on your mind. Your dog is not my dog. Your stress is not my stress. What is your stress? How do you know your stress? That is the keys to solving your problem. Once you can aim specifically at how you know your stress and you tap, and all you have to say is, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Yes, I said other words. Don't worry about that. Let it go is fine. And then alternate with a good feeling. And the next round of tapping, when you're like, well, I still have a little bit left. Okay, what's left? Well, what are we doing the next round? We're releasing. What are we releasing? Resistance. Our resistance. It's not safe to let it go. It's not possible. I don't deserve to let it go. I don't know how to let it go. What'll happen when I let it go? All the what ifs. That's that next layer. The first layer is usually the low-hanging fruit. The next layer is kind of like the stuff that's kind of stuck tighter to the tree as we kind of shake the tree. So the second layer, we're releasing all of our resistance. Now you'll see on the bottom here, kind of an arrow between the two, and you might have to go back and forth between resolving and releasing a couple of times until you really loosen the grip you have on this. Depends on how much momentum you really have. Depends on how many times you've practiced the meaning of this. You know, I mean, some things are a 600-mile-an-hour plane. Other things are just a little 25-mile-an-hour scooter ride. It really depends. So be willing and persistent to keep up with this. Once you've broken through, the resistance, that's when you have an opportunity to reframe and give new meaning to this thing that was bothering you. And that's when you give something new meaning, well, it just sifts within you with so much more peace and wisdom, right? I've had clients that I had a cancer patient. She came to me and she was in remission for many years. And she started to notice hospice signs everywhere that she was driving around. And hospice signs were a death threat to her. She was hysterical about seeing the word hospice. So we started tapping on hospice, this word hospice that had her with so much momentum, so much meaning, that was a life or death situation. And then I don't know if it was a slip or what I said, but I transposed the word to be spicy hoe instead of hospice. And she just bust out laughing. And she said, I can never, ever think of that word as threatening ever again. Spicy hoe, hospice. And she just laughed about it. And she was then set free. But it got us through the tapping process to be able to have a new meaning that she gave this word hospice with, that just liberated her from death. And literally, it's just a joke now. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that relief? Isn't that what we're all looking for? Just relief. So when we're able to get to a point where we can shift the meaning, well, then we're liberated into peace and wisdom. And then we can take that new wisdom and project it into the future by saying, hey, the next time I see a hospice sign, I'm going to laugh. It's going to be a joke, right? So things like this can happen for you when you use tapping. You've got to be willing and persistent. So what can tapping shift? So many things, right? Bad habits. It can certainly help neutralize anxiety in the body, help transform your trauma, help you build confidence, Certainly with so much relationship trauma and relationship stress that's out there, it can help you, be able to understand that your dog is not their dog. Even though there's a lot of conflict in the world right now about so many different things, we can give ourselves more peace and wisdom. Like, I'm on an airplane and people are talking, it's a red eye and I want to go to sleep. I'm tapping, until they're like whispering, like, what is she doing? I'm like, I'll tell you what I'm doing. You guys are talking, it's bothering me and I'm trying to relax. I'm doing this. I'm the one who's driving down the highway. I live in South Florida on 95, trying not to get killed. And I'm just tapping, trying to keep myself calm and relaxed while I'm driving, because it's a stressful experience. So use tapping in all these different places of your life. And really what you're doing is, in the moment of your triggers, anytime, anywhere, it helps to calm that internal chaos on demand, right? So take that stressed out state of yours, you add a little bit of tapping, let it go, let it go, let it go. That starts to harmonize our brain and our body. When I say that, I mean our nervous system, that manager of all of our body systems, and then also our mind. So a couple of tapping tips I have here. I mentioned this a few times. Be willing and persistent. Rome was not built in a day. You did not all of a sudden have this problem that's a big problem in your life overnight. And so it's going to take a little bit of unpacking. So keep up with your tapping. The more you can focus on the worst part of it, you're getting closer and closer to the root of what's holding it together, right? And that's what aiming at the worst part means. Look at it, feel it, see it, hear it. Maybe it's your own voice. Maybe it's somebody else's recorded voice. Tap on all those details. Now, you might have heard people say, like, oh, well, why are we tapping all these negative statements? I don't want to be negative. I want to be positive, And I'm like, F the mindset thing right now, okay? We're talking about true transformation. We're not going to just pretend. We really want to get to the real dialogue that's happening within us. And that's often very negative. I don't like this. I don't want this. This is yucky. This doesn't feel good. You can't just, spray potpourri over that. You just can't. You've got to go to the negative. And once it's like when you're around a little kid and they're like, hey, I want your attention, and they're just like pulling at your clothes and you're like, what? They're like, oh, I just wanted to say hi. Like, that's the same thing, what's going on with your whole mind. And whole mind, I mean your body and your brain and your memories and your emotions, all of it. They want acknowledgement. They want you to set them free. And, feelings don't last very long. It's our resistance to experiencing them. So when we're tapping, we can go to those things that might sound negative, but really are the truth of what we're experiencing. And once we can process and resolve those inside of our whole mind, body, brain, memories, all of it, then we can infuse something that's positive. But you can't go to the gas station and fill your car up with gas when your tank is full. You've got to empty out your gas tank. And if your gas tank is full of crappy gas, well, we have to tap and get rid of it. And by get rid of it, I mean like honor it, process it, move it through you, help shift the momentum, meaning, and memory to a place to more peace and wisdom, right? So yes, we talk about the negative because that's what needs the attention. That's what needs to get processed and resolved. And then once we do, then we can reframe it into spicy ho and we're happy and we're good and we're on, right? Make tapping a daily habit. Wake up in the morning and it's probably, the highest point of your day that you could just say, hey, I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to have a great day. You're just crystallizing and clearing your energy for the day. But maybe when it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like, feeling a little sluggish, feeling like the day is maybe beat you up a little bit. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Set alarms, on your calendar on your phone, reminders to, tap in the afternoon just to keep yourself balanced. Now, how long do you tap? Well, my mentor used to say, tap until you pass out or you fall asleep. It's like, what choice do you have, right? But you certainly want to tap each point, 5 to 10 times per point. You really want to engage that energy meridian. And you want to give yourself a break. If you've been tapping for a few minutes and you're like, hey, I'm still feeling a little, walk out of the house, get your feet on the ground, do some more of those energy exercises. I've got a bunch of them. You can look up on my website. There's hundreds of energy exercises that you can do to help you kind of shift from states of threat into states of more peace. But give yourself a break. Don't be like, I've been at it for an hour. No, that's way too much. A few minutes is plenty to start to make some really important shifts, and then let them integrate within you. You can't lose 50 pounds by tomorrow. I tried, didn't work, right? So be gentle with yourself and use your own words, right? It is so important that you use your own words because it's your dog. Like a lot of people out there are like, well, just give me a tapping script and I'll just tap along to the tapping script, or I'll just watch somebody's video where they're tapping, I'll tap along. That's their belief system. That's their words. They're not inside your mind. They're not looking at your dog. They're not. You have to use your own words. So write down your own story of, this bothers me. This thing is the worst part about it. It's Tuesday and it's blue and it's 6 feet and it's this and it smells like this. Write it all down and then tap on your own stuff using your own words. That is what is going to set you free faster than tapping along with somebody else's generic scripts that they don't know you. You know you. So using your own words, they say your word is your wand. That's what that means. You might be like, hey, I've been tapping for a while and it's just not working. Well, some things have a lot of momentum behind them. You just can't turn a 600-mile-an-hour plane around on a dime. You just can't. You've got to be willing and persistent. If tapping is a modality that works for you, great. Keep it up. Keep going. If not, find another one. There's plenty of them out there. They all are working. It's just we take score too soon. Can't lose 50 pounds by tomorrow. Don't put on the pants that aren't going to fit you. It's not going to work tomorrow. But if you keep it up, slow and steady wins this race. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Just like all inner transformation, it's a marathon, and you got to be in it for the long haul. Yes, you can get some quick wins by feeling a lot more calm and peaceful about things. But in terms of true transformation, got to be gentle with yourself. And the last is, not all tapping is created the same. Thank you for hanging in here with me and listening to my version of it. You may have learned something different someplace else. This is what I know has worked for me, and has what I've developed over the last, 15, 20 years of tapping. I've been tapping for over 20 years. Back when I was telling people to tap under their eye when they were anxious, and they were like, all right, crazy lady. Now that everyone was like, I'll try it. So tapping has evolved, right? But it's not all the same. So if this works for you, if this process works for you, then keep it up. If not, there are plenty of them out there. Tapping builds resilience. Resilience is a big buzzword these days. What is resilience? It's that capacity. Remember that green zone of your nervous system where you had that little wiggle window of tolerance? It's like somebody comes up next to you and they spook you and you're like, that's not having a lot of window of tolerance. You want to build more and more and more capacity, because life is coming at us like a freight train. It's not going to stop. We need to build capacity inside of us to handle more and more stress. And we overstimulate ourselves to make it worse. There's a wonderful video out there that I love, and I can't show it to you because it's copyrighted. It's on YouTube. But if you just type in, husband or couple on, slingshot ride, you can watch this video. And it's so, we just cannot judge a book by its cover, honestly, about how much resilience you have in your body or that you don't. Some people, they get a paper cut and it's like a Band-Aid and they go back to life. Other people, it's a day off of work. And really, no judgment here. No judgment here, right? So this slingshot ride is actually a really interesting video because, he's, you think, okay, well, he's kind of egging her on, like, oh, you're going to have such a hard time with this ride. And she's like, I can't believe you're doing this to me. Well, the slingshot takes off. She's screaming her head off and she is just flailing her arms all over the place, hysterical. And he's completely frozen. In fact, the picture that I'm showing you here is a picture of him squeezed on to the railing for dear life. His eyes are bugged out, wide open. His mouth is just open, but his whole body is locked. And he stays like this for the whole minute ride. And then when the ride is over, she's finally calming down. He's still stuck in this position. He's still stuck looking exactly like you see him right here. It takes her to reach out to him, to touch him by his hand and say, hey, are you really there? Are you okay? That unlocks his freeze state. He takes a breath and then he goes back into the same like, oh, this was too much for you. Meanwhile, P.S. he wasn't even there. He was not there at all for that ride at all. So interesting. I got the link here. I know it's hard with all the little letters and stuff on the YouTube video, but you can email me transformconnections@gmail.com, and I'm happy to send you the link. If not, you can just search it on YouTube, but it's a great video to demonstrate that you just cannot judge a book by its cover. Everybody has a unique level of resilience in their body. You don't know who's going to go to freeze and who's going to fight flight. You just don't know. So to wrap things up, this is not homework. This is effortless exercises for you to make, as habits and moving forward with your life. Highly recommend one happy journal entry per day to remind us, that there are some good things. Hey, I got all green lights today going to the gym. Or, man, my shower today was great. Or I love when I shave my legs and I get into my bed, and I feel the softness between like my sheets and my legs. I love that feeling. Like just simple things like that remind us that, there are moments that we feel good. So one happy journal entry per day. Then maybe do some energy exercises. Remember, we did the 4 thumps, right? We did the double karate chop. These are great things to kind of stimulate our energy and keep us in a rhythm and flow, keep us moving. And then maybe have a daily tap, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, set your alarm. Let it go. All the crap that happened to me all day today, just let it go. What they said and did, just let it go, and go piece into your wonderful memory and just relax there. And do that a couple times back and forth. And then just, stay connected. We need connection. Reach out when you need help. Just like the video couldn't show you, but, he was locked in freeze. When you need help, definitely reach out for help. Absolutely. So I want to thank you so much all for listening to me. Here's all my social media handles if you want to stay connected. And certainly if you were on this workshop today, if you're interested to do a special with me, I'm offering 2 private sessions in 1 week for $249. You can reach me. My website's transformconnections.com. And again, just thank you so much for listening to me today. I am gratitude for everybody who shows up. I am so passionate about all of this. And I hope you found it interesting and maybe even something that you can take forward into your life.
Suzanne, thank you so much for all of this knowledge. Wow, it was jam-packed and really wonderful to be able to put it all into practice. Again, thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.